Life Audio.
Welcome to Empowering Homeschool Conversations. I am Leilani, your host for today, and today we are going to talk about a homeschooling guide for parents of ADHD. So Dawn, which you may know from previous podcasts, she is a veteran homeschool mom and educational consultant with over 30 years of experience in education. And as a former special education teacher and certified multisensory instructor, she specializes in helping families homeschool children with unique learning challenges, specifically ADHD and autism. Dawn is passionate about equipping parents with the tools and strategies they need to support their struggling learners. And as a seasoned parent, mentor, and learning style specialist, she offers unique solutions to parents throughout their homeschooling journey, providing customized guidance on creating schedules, selecting curriculum, setting individual goals, implementing tailored teaching strategies to meet each child's unique needs. So in addition to consulting, Dawn is the director and owner of Solimar Academy, an umbrella school that offers families the freedom to set their own schedule and to personalize their child's education. Her mission is to empower parents to create a successful homeschooling experience that aligns with their family's vision and values. She is also the co-host on the Sped Homeschool podcast, sharing a wealth of information with 4 other amazing leaders in their homeschool community. So yay, Dawn, welcome. And we are actually going to be talking first about, actually, I should just ask you, sharing a little bit about your journey since you do have ADHD and how it actually has impacted your daily life.
Yeah. So that's part of like why we're coming together as a team tonight to share. I wanted to share my story with the journey of having ADHD. I kind of reframe it and call it something different now, but in a normal world, the world that we live in, it would have been labeled ADHD had I been identified with that years earlier. And so I would just start that. I just want to start my journey and share that journey as when I was a child. I always felt like there was something different with me. Like I'd never felt like other kids. And I didn't really even understand a lot of things that kids wanted to do or that they were interested in, like when they had obsessions with music or, styles, dressing and stuff like that. Like I never had that. I always kind of heard my own little song in my head. I just kind of marched to my own little drum and knew that there was something different, but just couldn't really figure it out. I just learned to accept it over time. And so part of that was, that's not so bad in itself, but it did impact relationships. And that's kind of what I want to share today, like how it impacted those relationships over time, and then how it influenced my journey in the homeschooling world. So do you want me just to move on with that?
Yeah. I mean, tell us about, your influence. Well, let's talk about the homeschooling first. The influence, how ADHD has influenced your approach to homeschooling. Because how many kids, they're all grown.
My kids are all grown and they're on their own doing wonderful. But I have 3 children. And so I just want to share, and I know if you're a mom and you kind of think, maybe I have ADHD, or I do have ADHD. I was not diagnosed with that. But I will tell you kind of how I behaved, what my behavior was like as a mom that was homeschooling. I was very enthusiastic about everything. I wanted to do everything. I had this like perfectionistic idea about how school should go. I was a very creative teacher, but I wanted to try everything. I wanted my kids to try everything. I really didn't sit back and like study my children. Like when I'm coaching parents now, one of the first lessons I give them is just get to know your child. Stop homeschooling. Just stop and observe them. What do they like? What are they doing each day? How are they taking in information? Really get to know them. I didn't do that with my kids. I basically bowled them over with all of this stuff. I would go to the homeschool conventions and come back with loads of things. And literally force them on my children. Like I remember doing Latin, trying to teach Latin to my oldest daughter and putting up all these cards on the wall. And every day I would say, okay, say your Latin cards. Well, that was not how she learned at all. And she never even looked at those words. She was not interested. Now, had I put pictures, like actual little diagrams or pictures, that would have been a whole new story for her. But just because they were words up on a wall on cards for her to memorize, that was not. So you can see already I was coming from a traditional way of teaching. I wasn't really teaching to their interests or their learning styles, which I believe now. And so, but I was enthusiastic. And because I had like a brain that was very impulsive and gravitated toward, let's just call it dopamine hits, like every new thing, right? I didn't give curriculum a long time to settle in with us. I was always adding in new things. And, you know, sometimes as parents, it's hard. Like there's a lot of good stuff out there, but you really do have to have a sense of who your children are and what motivates them. What are they interested in? What are your goals for learning? And how do you really want to help them achieve those goals? So that was a big thing for me. And I felt very scattery, but I didn't understand like what was happening for me. I just felt extremely overwhelmed, overworked, but I didn't say that to myself. I didn't say, gee, I'm really overworked here. I would homeschool all day, clean my house all night, get ready for the next day, make bread, garden, do laundry. I mean, I had nursed my children through the night. I had, not all at once, just one at a time, but I had like so much going on. Okay. I know it's silly. We need to cut that one. So
no, it's funny.
Going on in my life that I never like took the time to really see and analyze and take note of how are my children responding to this. You can't get over that.
It was great.
But
keep going. I'll just keep smiling.
Like, yeah, it was true. Like I was over momming, and I was definitely, won't go into my issues with helicopter mothering. That's a whole nother story. But I guess in a sense that is true. And I also want to add, because I had like this incredible energy and incredible enthusiasm and deep, deep interest in homeschooling, I thought it was amazing. Matter of fact, on top of it, I even created homeschool curriculum and sold it all over the world. So I was really burning the rope at both ends. And I really believe my kids were feeling it. I was definitely feeling disconnected in my marriage at the time because it was just like the whole world I was trying to hold on my hands. And, you know, I want to say I'm a Christian. I was a Christian then, but my faith in God really was more about me doing a really good job, me being perfect, me showing everybody that I was normal, really. You know, I had these 3 children and I wanted a beautiful home. I wanted a clean home. And it was this level of perfection that sadly really kicked me over the edge. It really caused, and looking back now, I know it was like a breakdown. It was like an emotional and mental breakdown. And the other thing, which we got to get into at some point, is I had no support. I really had no support. The people that were in my life that were homeschooling were people that I was trying to become and be. I wasn't crying out saying, I really don't know how to do this. I never did that my whole life. I'm like, I'll figure out the way to do it. Little did I know I was running everybody over like with a lawnmower. You know, I wasn't actually just being humble about it. I was so enthusiastic. And that is a trait of ADHD. Like when a person with ADHD has a deep interest in something, they can become quite amazing at that. But sometimes there's just this, what would you call it? Like a
hyper focus.
And there's like, you're the only one in the room, you know, you're the only one on the planet. And that was a big thing for me. It impacted my relationships deeply. And I still feel like on some level, like I didn't bond with my children like I wish I had, because I was so concerned and wrapped up in delivering this certain kind of life for them. I don't know if that makes sense. So when I coach parents now, my biggest thing is teaching them how to bond with their children, how to see their children, how to connect with their children, which took me a long time. And which I don't know if this leads into the next question or not, but what is the next question? Because I have more to share on that, how that works.
I was going to ask my own question.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, because I was thinking, with ADHD, because I can relate to all of this. With ADHD, I think with all the busyness that's happening, I'm wondering if people around you, because there is that perfectionist quality where we want so badly to do everything perfect. And we do mask and we try to come across that way, but other people being intimidated by our success or that they don't feed into our lives, and if they do, it's like, oh my gosh, what am I doing wrong? And it's like this, it paralyzes us.
We will continue this conversation after a short break.
Hey there, parents. Are you tired of the babysitter search struggle? Look no further. Welcome to KingdomCareSitters.com, where Christian families connect with like-minded sitters who share their faith.
I was searching for a reliable sitter who understands our faith and family dynamics. With KingdomCareSitters.com, I found the perfect match.
And guess what? You can discover sitter profiles, post jobs, and even schedule and book short-term or long-term care, all on the user-friendly website, KingdomCareSitters.com.
Plus, KingdomCareSitters.com lets you pay securely online. Whether it's date night, work commitments, or just some me time, Kingdom Care's got you covered.
As a sitter, I love being part of this community. I set my own rates, connect with amazing families, and make a difference in their lives.
Are you ready to find your perfect match? Visit KingdomCareSitters.com today, because when faith meets childcare, it's a match made in heaven.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com.
No, that's so true. And another part to that, too, I want to share. That perfectionist piece is huge because for me, because I never felt normal on the inside, I never felt like other people. I never felt like my life was normal. I came from a very abusive childhood, a very traumatic childhood. And my whole thing when I was at 7 years old, I remember saying, I will never have that bad. I will never be bad like that. I will have the best life. And I strove for that. So that piece of perfection showed up in me, even as a small child. I would keep my room clean. I would keep, I just always was trying but I want to share on the outside, like what you're talking about. I looked perfect, but on the inside, I was a freaking mess. I was really a mess. And there was just something so broken in me. And it took, sadly, like the breaking of a marriage, the breaking of very deep relationships, because there's, communities and families connected to marriages. And there were all these relationships that were heavily impacted. And I can't say, oh, it was all my fault and I, did it all. You know what I mean? There's a lot that it takes, when things like that happen. And there's no judgment here. I just know for myself, I didn't know what to do. But I didn't know how to ask for help. That's the biggest part, because I live this fantasy of perfection, and I'm laughing right now because, tonight, I brushed my hair for this, I put, makeup on, but if you could see my desk, it's a whole other world. And I try to clean it all the time, but it always turns out like this. And you know what? I've just learned to accept this is how I am. And I kind of like it. Like it feels like warm slippers and coziness, and I know where everything is. And every time I clean it up, I lose everything. So I'm just like, you know what, Dawn, this is who you are. Keep the background nice. But, that acceptance piece, took a long, 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 long time. So
like to embrace the craziness, which is something that I learned. Like all of us are just different with how we organize things. And someone, who's neurodivergent, we may have papers scattered everywhere, but we know where everything is. But at the same time, we don't want anybody to see it.
Right. Yeah. And that's the funny thing. But I've even relaxed a lot with that. It's taken me a long, long time to come. And this is, really where this whole story goes. But in my own self-care journey, because after the loss of some very, very deep relationships in my life, I know, am I on the roll here in the right place with the question? Are we good?
I mean, we're good. There was just one other thing, the strategies. I guess we could talk about self-care, but then coming back to the strategies.
Okay.
Or routines.
Okay. I'll pop over to that. But so
let's start with the self-care.
Okay. So the self-care piece comes in when I had this huge loss of these relationships. And for a long time, I kind of felt like, well, I'm the victim here. I'm the one that, lost all this, and, look at me now, and blah, blah, blah. And I just would kind of have an excuse, for certain things. Well, it's just something you just do in your head, and the voices and the noise in your head. You just kind of try to rationalize it and ask yourself, well, maybe it wasn't all me. And you're coming into this because you have so much shame about the journey and the parts that you played, but also, the parts that there's a lot of parts that you have to own. Right. And so what I did is I went into some really heavy duty coaching. Like I was coached. I actually went to become a coach and to learn more about this, but I ended up being coached. And it was so cool. It was like a Christian coaching thing. And it was, a good year's worth of coaching. And the best part of that was when I learned self-compassion. And it wasn't just, okay, I'm just going to be compassionate on myself and tell myself, yeah, this hurts, but blah, blah, blah. But that self-compassion led me into that deeper place and need for God. And Leilani, I hope as our guests are following this, you will hear what I said in the beginning, that I couldn't ask for help. And not even with God. Because with God, I thought, I have to do a good job. I'm a Christian. I have to be perfect. I have to do everything right. I'm a Christian mom. I'm a Christian wife. I have my house.
Isn't that ironic? Because, and I could be wrong, but like with the Christian faith, like the big thing is that we're not perfect.
Right.
And we have to rely on something outside of ourselves for salvation. And I always thought that was so ironic. But it's so focused on that.
And I honestly don't know how I got there. I just think that it was something that I held on to at a very young age that said, my life will never look like my mother's life. I will never be an alcoholic. I will never be a drug addict. I will have a perfect life. And that was not what happened. Because guess what? When you live in that kind of a mindset, when you say nothing's going to happen to me like that, I'm going to live a perfect life. And by the way, I went to school. I got all these teaching credentials and master's degrees and certifications. And I was just showing the world, again, on the outside, looking all put together. But the minute I started to fall apart, the people that I thought were my friends disappeared. The people that I thought would hold me up no matter what just went away. The people that I thought who truly loved me. And the fact was, they did love me. They just couldn't see me like that. And because they didn't know me anymore. They didn't know me as a person that was a mess. I came across so together and always like, well, Jesus taught me, or the Bible says, and it was always that. It was never really like, I'm dying inside. My relationship with my daughter is estranged and is killing me every day. And, but instead, I just kind of kept this little happy face going. until Jesus got a hold of me, until Jesus said, okay, we're going to take away everything. I'm still going to feed you. I'm still going to clothe you, and I'm still going to give you a roof over your head. But you're going to, and I left, I left the state that I was living in, and I moved to a state where I knew no one. And the minute I got here, the first year, I was like, what is going on? Am I crazy? What happened? But I knew God opened the door, and he allowed me. And he said, yes, you're going into the desert. You're going into the desert with me and you and no one else. And my dog. I got to keep the dog. And so with that amazing journey, I cried for so many years. And I remember just saying, God, why don't you just take me? My life is a mess. I have nothing to offer, because everything was still so scattery in me. And I just want to share, like, a person, that identifies with the traits of ADHD, how God can heal our mind. When we cry out to God and we say, God, can you heal my mind? And when we start raising up, these are some strategies right here. Crying out to God, 1. 2, raising up in the idea and knowledge of who you are, and asking God, show me who I am. Show me who I am. And I want to tell you a really fun thing. The first time I asked God that, he said, you are the beloved. You're my daughter. You're the beloved. And I'm like, okay, I like that. And then later on, when he was building me up and giving me a prayer life and helping me to find my knees and the word and the strength in the Lord, he gave me a new name. And when he gave me that name, I said, I don't want that name. I want the other. I want princess, Can you give me princess? Can you give me something really sweet, Lord? I don't want the name. And the name was warrior. And I'm like, I don't want to be a warrior. I'm old. Can you not, I was starting to read the Psalms out loud to God, about David talking about, being older. And I'm like, I'm old. Can you just bless me in my later years and then take me home? He's like, no, warrior. And what that meant, and this is where I really want to encourage people, and with the strategies, and I'm trying to see how much time, but is that the strategies of asking God to be with you, asking God to heal your mind and your heart and to restore the years that the locusts have eaten. I was so down and out, Leilani, that I just thought, I've lost everything. I've lost everyone that I love, and I've lost everything. And I'm still a little bit on that journey of healing those relationships. But part of that God taught me was getting rid of the old things, getting rid of the old mindsets that were crippling me and causing me to feel like a victim. I'm a child of God. If he allows us to go through the fire, then there's a reason for that. And it was the thing that I needed, because I was stubborn. And I am stubborn. I am strong. I am a warrior because I'm stubborn. And God knew it. And he's like, yeah, I got you. Don't worry. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to heal you. But he broke me. He allowed me to be broken, in a way that I would never wish for anyone, honestly, and the loss and everything. But the repair of coming back, and what did that look like?
We will continue this conversation after a short break.
Hey there, parents. Are you tired of the babysitter search struggle? Look no further. Welcome to KingdomCareSitters.com, where Christian families connect with like-minded sitters who share their faith.
I was searching for a reliable sitter who understands our faith and family dynamics. With KingdomCareSitters.com, I found the perfect match.
And guess what? You can discover sitter profiles, post jobs, and even schedule and book short-term or long-term care, all on the user-friendly website, KingdomCareSitters.com.
Plus, KingdomCareSitters.com lets you pay securely online. Whether it's date night, work commitments, or just some me time, Kingdom Care's got you covered.
As a sitter, I love being part of this community. I set my own rates, connect with amazing families, and make a difference in their lives.
Are you ready to find your perfect match? Visit KingdomCareSitters.com today, because when faith meets childcare, it's a match made in heaven.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
This is Empowering Homeschool Conversations, provided by SPED Homeschool, a nonprofit that empowers families to home educate diverse learners. To learn more, visit spedhomeschool.com.
I wanted to go back to the strategies just a little bit, because I know that with your kids, did this all happen when your kids were in the home or after?
Yeah, it was in the home, and they were younger. So I went through a very difficult and terrible divorce with their dad. And so it was so traumatizing to me that all my childhood trauma that I had run away from, and I reinvented a new life, all came back to me. And all the voices in my head from my trauma of, you're nothing, you are worth nothing, no one will ever love you, you are not lovable, you are a problem, whatever it was. See, this is the head oftentimes of people with ADHD. And people with ADHD, as you know, can suffer from anxiety and depression. Because really and truly, and this is where my passion for the work around girls with ADHD is coming from, because girls with ADHD, and I was one of them, tend to be very quiet with what's going on inside them. They don't want to tell someone, you know what, I really hate myself,
Yeah, and they mask.
They mask it. And it's called inattentive ADHD or ADD. I work with kids like this now. And the thing is that there's no voice. There's not even there's no, I don't want to call it self-esteem, but there's no sense of value. There's no sense of worth for them to even cry out and say, hey, I need help, right? So what did I do? I took the road of perfection and tried to lie to myself that I had all this stuff together. But when it fell apart, it really broke my children's hearts. It really broke their hearts because, here's this perfect mom. Now she's not, and all this happened. It was traumatic. It was extremely traumatic. And the hardest part for me was, I really don't know what happened. I don't know. I made choices for a relationship that wasn't right for me because I didn't bring God into that. I didn't even know how to bring God into a relationship. I didn't even know how to have a relationship with God because I didn't have a relationship with myself. I didn't have a relationship with my parents. I was just floating. Can you imagine? I mean, this is pretty crazy stuff. And I think I want to share this story and the strategies that got me. Really, it was the mercy of God. I just want to say that. It was the grace of God and the mercy of God. And I probably banged on heaven's door so hard that God was like, okay, let's answer, because I was like, please help me. Please, I don't know. And this took a long time coming. It took a long time, losing great friends. Like I said, when I became a mess, they couldn't handle it, right? The people can't handle it. Even now, if I'm very authentic and real and vulnerable, they can't handle that. But I've learned I can be that way because it doesn't define me anymore what people think about me. I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to stand up for things that maybe other people wouldn't speak up for and say, And all right, so back to the strategy.
That comes with age, right?
That also comes with age. I will say I celebrate the beauty of being older. Again, it's hard. Age is hard because you look back on your life and you're like, I wish I coulda, woulda. But I try not to live in that. I live in this life that I live now is by the mercy of God.
So it's like a journey, we start off in a certain place where we're struggling. And then for, in your case, you were broken. Mm-hmm. And all these things happened and you had to cry out. You had to learn how to depend solely on God. But I know one thing that is beautiful is that God gives us wisdom after the hurt and after the brokenness. And I thought I know the word strategies is but it's wisdom.
It's wisdom. Yeah, you're right.
I should phrase it that way. What wisdom did God give you being in the situation where you have ADHD, you're raising your kids? Like, what do you do now? What wisdom?
Yeah. So for me, right after the divorce and everything, there was actually custody between us both. And I was in such a traumatic state at that point in my life. I just was in survival mode. I was truly in survival mode. And it wasn't until later years when my life calmed down a lot. My children were on their own. God bless them. He was so gracious and merciful. I know we had a lot of people praying for us, and God answered those prayers. I'm still blessed to this day, how beautiful they are and amazing. But for me, it still took a longer journey. And so for me, part of it was coaching, being coached, having my heart coached, having this thing called self-love, and trying to understand like what the meaning of that was, because I didn't know that I couldn't truly love anyone, not even God, until I had that love for myself. And part of that was learning to be alone, learning to rely on myself with the Lord, with prayer, being diligent, making good choices every day. Like if I'm loving myself, guess what? I'm eating healthy. I'm exercising. I'm studying. I'm learning. I'm reading. I'm writing. I'm trying to have something in my life that will bless other people now. And that's exactly where I am right now. And that's where my heart and passion is, to help, especially moms and girls with ADHD, because you're trying so hard on the outside. Like you're trying to do all the right things and your heart is in the right place, but you're really a mess on the inside. You're really a mess. And if you have any kind of trauma in your relationships, it only exasperates that. So coming to a place where you're being honest with yourself, that was huge. Getting help. For me, it was the coaching piece, and it was just something God led me into because my heart was to coach, but I wasn't ready to coach when I did that years ago. It was like, oh no, this is for me. This isn't for anyone else yet. And so coming to terms with that, taking care of myself nutritionally, getting good sleep. You guys, like if you think you are even, that was another thing that was a breaking point for me in my marriage. I was not sleeping. I was getting like 3 or 4 hours of sleep. Leilani, don't say that you can understand that.
Yes, please. I can. Are you kidding me?
No. You go to sleep right now. Go to bed after we're done. Sleep is huge. And the studies that are out now on that and the impact on our brains and our focusing, and my brain now is better than it was years ago. And I also want to say, because of my sadness and my depression, I did start drinking like when I was around 50. And, I justified it as a Christian. I'm just having a little glass of wine with my dinner. Well, that wine got a little carried away. And it became like a dopamine hit for me.
Right.
And it became like every day a glass of wine with my dinner. And then that started impacting my emotions and my impulsivity and my big, thoughts and ideas. And it just got ugly. It just got super ugly. And that was just something that had to go. It just had to go. And so I know all these things now, and I wish, and I just pray by the grace of God, anyone that I've hurt along the way will forgive me, because I just pray that they would. And I know that some have actually. And so, but at the same time, we have to forgive ourselves. Like we have to have that self-compassion piece for ourselves, for the mistakes that we've made. I think every parent goes through this when their kids grow up. And then if their kid is kind of like, I don't want anything to do with you, then you're feeling, whoa, like you misunderstood me. And this isn't what I meant. And yet it impacted that child. And because of the way the child took it in, or the way they perceived you in your craziness and stuff like that, when in your mind you were like, I'm doing a good job. I'm juggling all these balls. I have 2 jobs and I have a house payment and, and
yeah. And that's it. I feel, okay. Teenage years, because that's what I'm dealing with now. Every single thing, I'm at the point where I feel like every person on the face of this earth can say that somehow there's a little PTSD somewhere or some kind of trauma, like whether it's big or tiny.
Nowadays, true.
Yeah. And so then the teens pull that all out and they just spaghetti all over your face. Mm-hmm. And then they tell you how they interpret it. And they love to make you feel like you're the worst mom in the entire universe. And they do it. And some of them are very manipulative, because I have different, I have 2 teens and a preteen, and they're very manipulative. Like they really want to have their phone, and they'll play, like they'll pit parents against each other. And, that's why it's very interesting, because I think, that's why it's got to be hard as a single parent too, at that age.
Mm-hmm. It was. Yeah. And I think like, I know like relationship dynamics between children and parents, some are so strong-willed, they're stronger than us. Like I had that struggle with my oldest daughter because she was stronger than me in so many ways. I mean, when she was 4, she looked at me and said, I should be the 40-year-old and you should be the 4-year-old. And I was like, yes, that sounds like a good plan. Like she could recognize in me that I was a mess. And I didn't even, I'm just trying really hard. Like
they're watching us their entire lives.
I know. And she's seeing that's at 4. And so by the time she was a teenager, she was like, you are a complete mess. And, and maybe her respect level wasn't very huge for me, but I still didn't know how to fix it, Leilani. I still really didn't. And I can't even say, I think I know what I would do differently now if I were to be a parent again. And that's why I'm here sharing this, because to me, I would say, please, please, please get a coach. Please get a coach. And Sped Homeschool, we're going to be opening up all of our coaching opportunities come February 17th, I think.
Yeah. And I think this airs in April. So it should be fully aware. Yeah.
It'll be fully in.
But that's for the coaching for the kids.
Yeah.
It's for the parents, but it's about the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know I think you're a coach, or you're a coach and I'm a coach. And so, but just having that support person, I know, right? Mm-hmm. But having that support person in your court, somebody that's non-judgmental, somebody that has like great strategies for you with no condemnation. They're not, I wish to this day, I just had, and let me tell you, I went to a counselor and a therapist, and I'm like, please tell me what's wrong with me. Is there anything wrong with me? Am I bipolar? Am I this? They're like, no, not really. No. And I was like, no, there has to be. And they just didn't know like ADHD and what that brain looked like. Right. Because I can come across really awesome, like really together. Oh, another strategy tip, low carbohydrates and L-theanine, getting your good sleep and taking your magnesium. Just write those down before I forget them. But
Can we add ashwagandha to that?
Ashwagandha. Yes. Yeah,
changed my life. We're not doctors though.
And omega-3s, you guys, like an ADHD, and there's so much information out there on this stuff. But if you could just like make sure like you're drinking your water, you're getting your magnesium, your multivitamin, your ashwagandha. Yeah, that stuff. And your L-theanine, because L-theanine is an amino acid that calms the brain. And ever since I've taken that, like I have so much different kind of focus. Like even in really tumultuous situations, I'm very calm, and it's like, it's okay.
And even with our kids, because I found out too that there is a genetic component as well. Like in my situation, I also have ADHD. I have 3 kids diagnosed.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised if my 4th has ADHD, but we're already in so many therapies that I'm just like,
you're like, well,
she has Down syndrome.
Yeah. So, yeah. And that is true. It's hereditary. So,
it's not always hereditary, but
it's not. Okay. Yeah. See, that's what I was thinking about when I was like, because I'm kind of writing a little biography. And when I was writing it, I'm like, was I born with ADHD, or did my mother create this in me? Because she was really a mess too, but she was a mess on the outside. And so I just remember watching that and saying, I'm never going to be a mess on the outside. And, I pulled off a lot of good stuff. I went to school. I had a good job. I can make decent money. But when there's just like anxiety, a mask. When there's anxiety about, like at work, oh my gosh, what if I miss an appointment? I better write it down 3 times on all these sticky notes. And there's like this anxiety that I'm always carrying within me, like I'm going to be late or not show up. And I'm determined the next time I blow it and not show up or do something, I'm just going to walk in, hey guys, I have ADHD. I'm doing my best I can. Because that's that self-compassion piece, not as an excuse, not as an excuse, but just hugging myself saying, I can't do it all.
But if you make it into a joke, I mean, like, I don't know if that makes sense. It's not a joke. Yeah. But not as, okay, I'm sorry, I got ADHD.
Yeah, I know, right?
I do that.
But there's a generation be ahead of us that just feels like if you give an excuse for your behavior, then it's just, you're just talking.
That is so true. There's this the generations, just the different generations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a baby boomer. And
I'm the next, I'm under you.
Yeah.
But then I'm looking at the generation under me and they're all about like compassion and supporting the different BU. And
that's nice.
But I need those people there's yeses and nos for both of them. There's pluses and minuses. Oh, and but
go ahead.
I was gonna, because I was taking notes.
Thank you.
I'm all taking notes over here. But something that I just wanted to like reiterate was that you mentioned self-love, and the people in community, and even though there was coaching that you received, but just having a good support team around you, whether it's a homeschool community or whether it's a church family or just something that they're there to encourage you, but you can also encourage them.
Right.
And the other thing I was thinking is, because you said self-love, starting to see yourself the way that God sees you.
Yes, I love that. That was so true. And that's where that name piece comes in, when he gave me the name. And when I, also another side thing that I do for therapy now is I do red light therapy and the PMF. And so I do that where it like rejuvenates your cells. And it's just such an incredible thing. But I do it with a Christian therapist who prays me through those times. And that's where I learned to hear and listen to God for my name. And I remember one session he came in after, he said, so did God tell you anything? And I go, yeah, I heard the name Warrior. And I was not thinking that. I would not ask me to be that. I'm not like, I don't see myself that way. And even at that time, I was still kind of this like fearful person where people would throw bullets and I would just like fall over dead, like, on my back with my legs up. And God taught me through prayer how to fight the enemy. How to fight the enemy, that God hears my prayers and that he has given me power as his daughter, as a warrior child, because we are, when we come and follow Christ, we have the power of Jesus in us. I'm not just saying that within myself, because I would never have seen myself like that. I mean, we're talking a little girl that just felt lost and unseen, and to a woman now that is going, oh, none of that matters. That's not who I am. This is who I am. Like you said, the way God sees me. How does God, and that was my question, God, how do you see me? How do you see me?
And sometimes just like cracking open the scripture and seeing what he says.
Yeah.
Too. Like some people don't hear, this is they won't have that same situation, but just cracking open the Bible and it literally will say,
Well, and it has to line up. If you think you do hear from God, it does have to line up with scripture. And that's one thing about me working with my therapist, because everything I said, he would check with scripture. And he says, you know what, that lines up with the word of God. And this is what the word, and he would give the scripture, And so, but I think that at that point, I have had a prayer life with God for several years now. And even though there are days I'm like, I'm good. And then I'm like, no, you're not. go back in there. Don't even think you can go out in that world and handle that. And if you're a homeschooling mom and you feel like, oh, I don't know how I'll ever do this. I don't know how, my parents will judge me. My friends will think I'm crazy because look at my house. I actually worked with a mom, coached a mom who very, very much struggled with that, like all the messes, the disorganization. And I literally, because of my own experience, was able to teach her how to really organize and create systems for her 4 children. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. Like the results were amazing. It wasn't perfect, but I also sure with that. Yeah.
Because we were talking about that a little bit before, because you were asking me as well. And that was one of the things that I have to do is I have to literally schedule things through the day.
Yeah. You're good at that. Yeah. Yeah. Share about that, because I think that's a really neat thing that you do.
Well, I have to.
I know.
Or I lose my mind.
Oh, it's so true. And when I was homeschooling, I remember always I was dying for a system that would save me. I remember having the big whiteboard. Remember the big whiteboard with the lines and everything was scheduled in there? Well, that was great and it was nice looking, but I never looked at it.
Yeah. I had to use my phone. Yeah. And I think I will say I had to have somebody keep me accountable, which was my husband. But I had to have someone to keep me accountable because
good.
I mean, I started very scattered all over the place. And the same thing that you were describing with, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that.
Right.
And I even tried to put a clock on the wall that had like color codes with the different things we were supposed to do, including like dinner and free time and PE time. Idea. Well, yeah, it didn't work because I never looked at the clock.
You never looked at it. Yeah, I know.
Never looked at it. And I think
timers work. When I
timers work, yes.
I set 3 timers. One at 5:30 to wake me up. One at 6 o'clock to get me like done exercising because I get carried away with that. And then one at 7 o'clock saying you have another hour before you have to leave. And then, but I have 3 timers that go off in the morning while I'm getting ready because I will go off, start journaling. I'll start painting in my art studio. I'll start watching a podcast.
Well, I think it wasn't until I had someone keep me accountable for time.
Tell me how he does that. Like, what does that look like?
No, I'm just laughing because it got messy, right? It got really, really messy. But I really think what really got it refined was because I wanted to do certain things or have the kids be involved with certain activities.
Yeah.
And that was on a time schedule. Mm-hmm. But I had to get all this other stuff done too. And then Naomi's therapies, we had to schedule that in. And then I'm like, well, when am I going to sit down and work on math with Hannah? And when am I going to check the, math assignments? And so, and then I want to work because I started, my kids wanted to, now it's like they have all this free time. I have free time. So I get to work, but it's not really free time. It's scheduled free time.
Yeah.
And even up to for example, today, I have something that's my treat. And that's working out. I love to go to the gym. I have a whole routine. And if I don't get all that stuff done, I don't get to go to the gym.
Okay. So it's an incentive too.
It's an incentive. It's my incentive.
Yeah.
And so I get to have my free time if I keep track of their schedule and do all the things. And so my husband does keep me accountable for that. But also at the same time.
Yeah, since you have the schedule, is it like a paper schedule you use or it's all online?
It's all on my phone. And we have a Google Calendar that we share.
Okay, and you have a shared calendar. Does it notify you? Does it beep when, okay, it's got to stop, we need to do the next thing? Like, how does it actually, or does he say, hey, honey, it's time?
What I do is every single morning I wake up, and after I get kind of awake and like coherent, actually, I'll be honest, I wake up and look at my phone. Let me not even try to sugarcoat that one. Yeah. I wake up and look at my phone, and the first thing I do is look at my calendar, and that might be my obsessive compulsiveness. I don't know, because I know if I'm late to something, I'm going to start losing my mind. And I go through my calendar and I say, okay, I have this. And then I have to relay all that information to my husband. Like I literally verbalize everything to him, what we're doing for the day. And then I say, okay, what are you going to take and what am I going to take? Because we have to split it between each other. And I'm very fortunate that my husband is a paramedic. So he only works 3 days a week.
Wow.
And so I have him for most of the time. He has a second job that he works at home with. And so, I'll say, okay, this is going to work out if we do this, 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 and this, and then I don't know, there's little things. We definitely have a lot of parent conferences too with, so one of the things, like my son, he has also ADHD.
Okay.
I'll share this on here. We want to get him to be more independent. He's 15. He just passed his driver's permit. So he's going to be getting his driver's permit, but he's scared. He's scared of what people think. He's scared of being judged, which is very typical. Yeah. And so today I knew that I really wanted to work out. I also knew this because me and my husband have been having this conversation. And I also knew I needed to take him. He had an appointment. So we went, and I had a meeting. I had a meeting with Naomi's speech therapist on Zoom at the same time as Isaac's appointment.
Oh, no. Oh, wow.
So what did I do? I went, we talked about it with my husband, and I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And we're trying to find ways to overlap things. I'm going to take Isaac to his appointment. I don't have to be present. So I'm going to sit outside during his appointment and do the Zoom call with the speech. After we're done, we're going to go grocery shopping. And my place I work out is right next to the grocery store. He's going to go inside by himself, and he's going to grocery shop, and I'm going to go work out.
Wow.
And good. he's going to do it by himself.
Wow.
He was terrified.
Yeah.
And, but I because part of the ADHD, you got to give him that heads up. You're going to do this. He had to do a lot of breathing, and we had you got this, you got this. I had my phone with me the whole time. If he needed me, he sat in the car for 30 minutes because he would not go inside. And I would be like, are you going in? Are you going in? And so he finally went in with his shopping cart, and he did the things, and everything worked out fine. So, but I got all of that done, but I had to talk it through with my husband.
Wow.
I had somebody to talk it through with. And
so
I guess
you had to process it and work it through and make sure you weren't missing anything.
Yeah.
With doing this with your son.
Yeah.
That's awesome. He's like a coach.
Yeah. So I do. I process everything with him.
That's beautiful. And it sounds like he's okay with that. Like some men, that would be like whining in their ear, and it wouldn't work,
He has to be okay with it.
I love that. Kudos to choice. And that's beautiful. Yeah. And having that conversation with your spouse and saying, because see, I didn't do that. I didn't reach out to my spouse either. I was just carrying all this in by myself, like trying to be perfect, trying to be a homeschool mom. I didn't even know what that was, let alone.
But you had a coach. So like I said, it doesn't have to be a husband.
I had a coach after the fact, after my life broke and I lost everything and I was crawling on the ground, asking God for mercy. And he opened the door in this Christian coaching. This is just about 5 years ago. And it led me down this path of self-discovery, self-love, self-forgiveness, learning to love the me that God made, the precious daughter that I was, and love the Father. Because it's just, I can't explain that cycle of what happens. And that was a part of my prayer too, though. Like, God, give me so much love for you that it just spills out of my life. Like whoever I touch, I don't care what I want anymore. Like, it's not like what I want. It's what you want for this little life, to shine for you and to love others. And for me, that passion for coaching, Leilani, and I know you have your reasons too, it came out of that brokenness of, I never want to see another family go down like that the enemy would steal, rob, and destroy. And I never want to see a woman have a breakdown like that, because you guys, women with ADHD struggle with a lot of different things. Anxiety. I had like this rejection complex. I don't even know where that came from, because I had all these great things going. You think I'd have this big old self-esteem? No, I was acting like that because I needed desperately to be loved by other people, to be seen, and to be, to say good job. Like, I was dying for that. And I was so hungry for that. And I wasn't getting it. And so, that can create unhealthy things in your life. It has to be this. So
now,
end of the day.
we do have like 8 minutes left.
Okay. Yeah.
And there were 3 other questions. So I'm going to kind of read the questions off to you. Okay. Your relationship with your children, how has your ADHD current place affected your relationship with your children? And then, of course, what other advice would you give parents, which I think you kind of have, but I don't know if you wanted to summarize it. And then any coping strategies, which I think you touched on that a little bit. You could probably recap it. And then biggest lesson you learned about yourself. I guess you could just recap those. But I think the biggest one was your relationship with your children. Now.
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing with my children is my children are adults and they have a free will and they're believers. They believe God and trust God, but I also respect them in their choices that they've made for their lives. And I understand, like, I was a lot to handle. I was a lot, I just literally verbally said everything that came to my mind. Like, you can't do that. You have to have self-control. That is a gift of the Holy Spirit. And I can't say I'm perfect now, but I'm very intentional about what I call this thing I do. And this is a fun little tip for you guys. It's called rocks in the mouth. So when I'm around certain situations, I just pretend my mouth is full of little pebbles, little rocks, just to I literally have to intentionally shut up and be still. Be still. The Lord told me that for years. Be still and know that I am God. I am still. La, la. That means listen. That means wait. That means even in prayer, don't talk. I was like, what? But this is the beautiful thing about our Father. Like, he's so patient. Our children may not be patient with us, Leilani. Our children may grow up and go, you are horrible, until they come into their own reckoning and realize we all need grace. We all need forgiveness. But then again, there's the capacity at which we can handle other people. I've had to say goodbye to toxic people in my life, to toxic relationships that didn't serve me, people that I love, but I was just like, it doesn't serve. It's not serving. And so if my children decide that for their lives regarding me, I understand that. And I bless that. And I bless them. But one thing they can never, not anyone can ever do, my children or anyone, is stop me from praying for them, stop me from loving them through prayer. So I would just say that God is blessing that. God is blessing those relationships, and he's definitely working in those to strengthen them. But there's healing, and healing takes time, and healing takes a willingness to want to be whole and to reconcile. And not everyone has the ability to do that, So we just pray for them. And I just pray, like, now in my life, this season of my life, which are my golden years, that I would just be a vessel for the Lord in any capacity that he has, and that I can bless others. And that's why I wanted to share this story today.
Thank you. Thank you. So I guess that's about all the time we have for today. So, all right. So thank you for tuning into today's episode of Empowering Homeschool Conversations. If you're looking for more resources, support, and encouragement on your homeschool journey, be sure to visit Homeschool Heroes powered by SPED Homeschool, which both of us are a part of. Mm-hmm. And we're there. So at Homeschool Heroes, you're going to find free downloads, supportive community of parents, homeschool-friendly providers, and expert consultants ready to help you teach your child with confidence. Plus, explore tools, products, and services designed to simplify your homeschooling efforts, all from a trusted nonprofit that understands the unique challenges of homeschooling children with learning differences. Mm-hmm. Join us at spedhomeschool.com, find answers to your biggest homeschool questions, and develop your homeschooling superpowers with our resources, inspirational articles, and a supportive community that's here for you every step of the way. Mm-hmm. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Leilani. It was such a pleasure to share with you. Thank you.
I want to take just a second to thank the team at Life Audio for their partnership with us on this podcast. If you go to lifeaudio.com, you'll find dozens of other faith-centered podcasts in their network. They've got shows about prayer, Bible study, parenting, and more.
This has been Empowering Homeschool Conversations.
For some of us, personal finances aren't just personal. They include loved ones, neighbors, the communities we call home, and the causes we hold in our hearts. At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than just money. We help you put your plans into motion and faith into action so you can do more for the ones in your heart. Because sometimes all you need to make a difference is someone to help you make it happen. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.